You know by now that I like to tickle the brain cells a little with a quote or two. So, here are a series that are selected, dare I say, handpicked, to get you thinking about decision making. You can actually respond in your own way to the messages conveyed. Where better to start? Mark Twain. When we're looking for some interesting quotes, you can guarantee Mark Twain will come up with them. So, here he suggests that good decisions come from experience, and experience comes from bad decisions. I like that one. Firstly, it's talking about the importance of experience. And as I've already said in the introduction, decision making is part of everything we do. It's integrated into all of those experiences across every single day. But I also like this quote because, again, it's getting us to reflect on the fact that things will go wrong, but we learn from those experiences. That's genuine experience. And perhaps there's the cliche that we learn far more from the mistakes we make than we do from getting things right. So, experience, and particularly those difficult experiences, those uncomfortable experiences, are things that really do help us to think about our decision making. The way we go about making decisions will be influenced to a great degree, perhaps, in some situations. Uh, dare I say that our future decision making, it will be determined on those experiences how much we're learning, whether we're actually open to change, and whether we're open to think about the choices that we really want to make. There's a particularly gruesome image. What kind of negative experience results in you ending up swallowing yourself? Quite a startled look, perhaps perplexed by the whole situation and what's happening. Again, hopefully, if you survive this kind of situation, this kind of experience, it's one that you're going to learn from, I guess. Maybe. Just thought I'd throw that one in just for the hell of it. Moving on swiftly to another quote, Scott Adams suggests that informed decision making comes from a long tradition of guessing and then blaming others for inadequate results. Guessing and then blaming others. This one, instilling a bit of humour into our thinking, into our reflections. But interestingly enough, what I like first of all is that it's about informed decision making based in information. But this notion that actually we don't have a great deal of scientific basis or great evidence base for a lot of the decisions we're making. There is a degree of guesswork. This is an important message to always keep in mind. But putting the humour to one side, we operate, we function, we live, we work within what can loosely be called a blame culture. Society is very quick to try and point the finger of blame when things go wrong. And what Scott Adams is suggesting is, having really just based everything that we were doing on guessing, perhaps it would be better for us if we also got the blame in quicker. Get the blame in first, before others do. Dodinsky suggests that we should not plant our dreams in the field of indecision, where nothing ever grows but the weeds of what if. What if, those regrets, indecision being the important message here, getting caught in not being able to decide one way or the other. In fact, indecision will be a theme across the next few quotes as well. But not planting our dreams in this whole indecisive place, because ultimately the message here is we'll constantly come back to regret the fact we didn't make the decisions. We weren't clear and decisive enough. Maimonides, a Jewish philosopher from many centuries back, suggests that the risk of a wrong decision is preferable to the terror of indecision. There's that theme again, indecision. And the suggestion here, it is better that you tried, you made a decision, it turned out to be the wrong one, but that is still far better than just being trapped, going back to the regrets again, trapped in this terror. That's a powerful word. Not being able to decide at all. Not being able to go for it. Not being able to give it a try. Things going wrong. If we give it a try, we can always double back and redecide, depending on what the circumstances are. But this terror of indecision is an important message to always keep in mind. Will Rogers, an actor in the United States many years back, he suggests that even if you're on the right track, you'll get run over if you just sit there. That's been accredited to a number of different people, I think, if you Google it. So there's an important message about movement and change. When we're thinking about decisions, even if we're in the right ballpark, it's about making decisions that help us to take that next step, moving forward. Don't just sit there. Don't just feel self-satisfied that we're kind of generally in the right area. Again, it's about being more decisive. And there's that message about the terror, the fear, the regrets of indecision, which underpins quite a number of these different quotes. The Irish writer Brendan Francis says that some people are very decisive when it comes to avoiding decisions. This one is dear to my heart because I'd have to say, okay, let's own it. Ownership is important. Yes, I've been in situations of avoiding decisions myself, but I've certainly spent much more time observing a whole range of team meetings that I've been involved in, either directly or in a practice development role. I'm observing, I'm reflecting on, I'm supporting the development of teams. And basically what I'm seeing is this notion that it's important to have democratic decision making. We all come together, we all sit around, we all share the information, we all decide. Well, actually, quite often, when that decision is a challenging one, it can become a place, the arena, where we keep passing the buck, keep pushing it around. Hopefully, somebody else will make the decision. Ultimately, we're all trying to avoid that very uncomfortable, that difficult moment when a decision needs to be made. William B. Given suggests that when possible, make the decisions now, even if it's in the future that we will be taking the action. A review of a decision usually is better than one reached at the last moment. Now, I'm sure for some people, they thrive much more on leaving everything to that last moment when there can be no further deliberation. You've just got to decide. But by and large, I'm not going to say that that's the best way of making decisions, particularly some of those bigger, challenging ones. So William B. Given is suggesting to us here that it's important to make decisions early, particularly if we're not having to act on them just yet, because we can absorb new information, we can reappraise, we can change, we can review the decision as time goes on. You will not have that luxury if you've left it to the very last moment. So there's something about making decisions, even if they're provisional ones, do it now rather than wait for the last minute. Johann Wolfgang von Goethe said there's nothing more frightful than ignorance in action. Again, there's the danger that for me that comes out of this is some people do put the blinkers on and are not really open to a wider range of information. They've decided on an action, they've made their decision, and they won't be budged from it. Ultimately, the message here is that it's ignorance that is leading that decision. It is action that will emerge out of ignorance rather than good, qualitative reflection. So there's nothing more frightful than ignorance in action. But encouraging people, I'll come back to the theme again of collective decision making, involving people. only the relevant people, not just for the sake of casting the net far and wide. But the more realistic people who have, let's say, a stake in the decision, who can inform the decision, the more of them that we can involve, the likelihood is that there'll be a better quality, supported decision at the end. Tony Robbins, a motivational speaker from the United States, he says, "If you do what you've always done, you'll get what you've always gotten." Spoken like a true American, it's always interesting to see English phrases bent out of shape to feed the US market. Sorry, I'm going off on an unnecessary tangent there. The important message here is, again, being open to other sources of information, being open to change. Don't stay stuck in what is perhaps safety in your own comfort zone. Feel enabled and supported to stretch yourself. Go out and push at those boundaries. That's where we thrive. That's where advances will be achieved in some way. Lastly, as far as this range of quotes is concerned anyway, another motivational speaker from the United States, Dennis Waitley, said, "Life is inherently risky. There is only one big risk you should avoid at all costs, and that is the risk of doing nothing." Again, we've got the theme of indecision perhaps here, but I also like this one because it reflects a quote that I've used several times in other parts of my positive risk-taking work. One of my favorites, which says, "If you don't risk anything, you could risk everything." There's a similar reflection in both messages here. Life is risky. We need to take risks. Just staying there doing nothing, not changing anything, is an extremely risky way forward. Spend a few moments just reflecting back over those quotes and write down any gut reactions or thoughts that they inspired for you. Put them to one side and then come back later and have a look at what you've written down. Have a look at those gut feelings. But before you move on to the next presentation, check out the PDF document, 6 Influences on Decision Making. Some of you might have seen it as a lead magnet that drew you ultimately to arrive at this course, but it's included here because it's an important piece of information in the jigsaw puzzle of this risk decision making module.